Hey there, career women. I want to talk to you today about mindless eating because it's an eating habit that feels so uncontrolled for some, which then leads to a feeling of helplessness and disbelief that you can break this habit. And for others, mindless eating may seem harmless enough, but there are definite downsides to consider. And then for some of you, you may suspect you're mindlessly eating but aren't entirely sure. So this episode will address all of this. By the way, I'm Kate Johnston. I'm an eating habits and weight loss coach for career women. I help career women break bad eating habits and have a better relationship with food, their bodies, and themselves. If you're not a career woman, don't worry, this video will still help you as well. So I'm going to give you 4 steps to stop mindless eating, but first, we'll define it, go over the downsides of it as well, because when you know the downsides and how it can hurt your eating habits and weight loss goals, it motivates your brain to stop the mindless eating. Also, I'll cover how career women are especially prone to mindless eating. Then I'll go over some specific situations that you may find yourself in. And again, if you're not a career woman, that's okay. A lot of these will also apply to you in some way, or you can at least think about how it does apply to you. And so for those specific situations, I want you to listen in to see if any of these are situations that you find yourself in. That will be key in the final part of this, which is the 4 steps to stop mindless eating. And then as a bonus, I'll share a mindset shift at the end to help you stop mindless eating. Before I dive in, if you haven't received my free course on crushing bad eating habits, Simple Solutions for Career Women, get it using the link down in the episode description. It comes with a workbook that you can print out to help you put in place a simple plan to break those bad eating habits that I cover in the course. I make it very simple for you to get started. I cover 3 different very common eating habits that career women have and a lot of women and people have. These include emotional eating, using food as reward, and also quick and convenient eating secondary to your busy schedule. So grab that with the link in the episode description below. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up button. This thumbs up button helps to circulate this a little bit more to people that might also need this help as well. All right, so mindless eating is when you're eating and you're not fully aware of it. It's as simple as that. It's almost like an unconsciousness. I know that's a very broad definition, but I will give you some specific examples of common mindless eating situations. Some of you may think that you're able to concentrate on eating and doing something else, like multitasking, but really only a teeny tiny part of the population can actually multitask where they're giving each thing like full attention or almost full attention. Most of us cannot actually do that. So we end up giving the thing that requires more attention, more brain power, more focus, we end up giving that much more attention just automatically. And then something like eating does not require a ton of attention. It's very easy to just do it automatically. And that ends up being the thing that we are not focused on if we're eating and doing something at the same time. So mindless eating is very automatic because you're making the motions of grabbing the food, putting it in your mouth, chewing and swallowing, whether that's with your hands, a fork, a spoon. So it becomes kind of like something that you're not entirely aware of. You're sort of like unconscious with. I don't mean unconscious like sleeping, but just less conscious of your actions. The downsides are that it sets you up for overeating, meaning eating more than what your body actually needed. Because if you're not fully aware, then how do you know when you've actually had enough to eat? And when you eat more than what your body actually needed on a frequent or daily basis, that's when you will gain weight. Or you may have other uncomfortable sensations from overeating, such as stomach discomfort, bloating, feeling of drowsiness, or even just mental or emotional things like feeling really badly, feeling guilty, feeling shame. Another downside is that mindless eating quickly becomes a habit. Mindless eating is very habitual because every time you eat while you're doing a specific activity, it forms a link between activity and behavior of eating. So for example, let's say you're working and eating, or you're watching a Netflix series at 8 o'clock at night and eating. Your brain forms the link between that specific activity and the behavior of eating. This means that because there's that link, you can easily end up eating when you're not actually hungry. And that's that more habit portion of it. Your brain just alerts you that maybe you should be eating because of that link it has formed between that specific activity and the behavior of eating, not necessarily due to true hunger. And once that link has been created, it turns into a habit very, very quickly. The more you feed into this habit, the stronger it becomes. And then you feel like you need to have a snack or need to have something to eat every time you watch Netflix. So my client this morning told me that she used to eat a snack at night while she watched a particular TV show, like a very specific TV show. She felt she had to have that snack while she watched that particular show. Like there was no other option. Like that show went along with the snack, and the snack was very specific as well. Like it didn't even make sense to watch the show without that snack. Now she realizes that that made no sense and simply wasn't true. She realizes that there's no reason she needs to have a snack. And the best part is that now she can just watch the show without a snack and feels that she enjoys the show at least as much as she did with the snack, right? Another downside is you don't get to enjoy the food as much. Now, we don't need our food to provide pleasure or entertainment, not at all, but the truth of the matter is you're going to tend to eat things you like, right? And if you're eating food you like, you're going to want to actually be able to appreciate and enjoy the flavors of it more fully rather than be sort of like unconscious or unaware of all of that. And the next thing you know, you look down and it's just completely gone, right? We've all been there. So this isn't as big of a downside as the overeating part or like that habitual automaticity of it, but definitely still a downside. Career women tend to be prone to mindless eating because of a busy schedule. Certainly many other people can have busy schedules as well, but career women definitely tend to have a schedule that makes them a little bit more prone to mindless eating. And a lot of that is just because of the thoughts about the schedule. Also, sometimes the actual schedule itself. The other reason that career women can tend to be prone to mindless eating is because of that desire for productivity or being productive, and then also the emotional component of it. So I'll explain each. So see if you can identify with any of these. Because of a busy schedule, career women can feel like they need to eat and work at the same time, or like they don't have time to just take that 15 minutes to eat. So they eat while they're doing something, eat while checking email at the same time, or maybe eating and driving at the same time. I've been there with all of those. So this goes hand in hand with that desire for productivity as well. So we as career women feel that we need to multitask as much as we can, and eating is an easy thing to do while being productive. For example, working at your desk and eating your lunch there, or eating your breakfast while you're working, eating your breakfast while you're checking email and responding to emails. The third is the emotional component of it. When we as humans experience a negative emotion, our first instinct is to avoid that negative emotion or get rid of it as quickly as possible. Food is an easy way to do so. There are tons of downsides to this, which I won't go over in this episode. I've covered some in episodes on my podcast, Eating Habits for Life, especially in the emotional eating episodes. So we will instinctually, as career women, grab food to avoid, as humans, to avoid feeling that negative emotion. Just a lot of humans, right? That's just a normal human behavior. And then when this has become a habit, which it very quickly does, there's a certain level of unawareness or unconsciousness while we're doing this. Since the focus is to get that uncomfortable feeling or emotion to go away, like that's the primary objective when it comes to eating in response to emotions, the focus is not on the food and our bodies and if we're actually hungry or not. We just have this knee-jerk reaction to eat food to avoid the emotion. Okay, so here are some specific situations that you may find yourself in that you're mindlessly eating. So here's where you'll really want to listen in to see where you've caught yourself mindlessly eating, because that will help you with the next piece of it, which are the 4 steps to stop mindless eating. Being distracted while working and eating at the same time, like being on your computer, also being distracted while on your phone, either surfing the internet, checking emails, texting, and eating at the same time, right? Watching TV and eating, reading and eating. I know a lot of you watch TV and eat your dinner, and this is just a thing that you do out of habit, or your family does out of habit. But this is also mindless eating because you're not concentrating on the food, you're concentrating on the TV and also even conversation with, the people around you. And that hand to mouth action is just happening. Also, being distracted when you're in conversation, just in general. This can be either with family members at the dinner table, when you're out to eat with people, or when you're eating lunch with colleagues. Now, granted, you may feel like these are times where you have to eat and converse, but 2 things on this. So first, you don't have to eat and socialize at the same time. You might choose to eat and socialize at the same time for whatever reasons, and that's totally fine. Second, there are ways you can increase your awareness of your eating while you're actually eating and socializing to avoid the downsides of mindless eating. So you can actually increase your presence with the food and the eating and your body while you're sitting at the table with other people. And that's just an example of one of the things that I cover in my coaching when I'm working with clients one-on-one. Any situation that comes up, there is a solution for. Another specific situation is in the movie theater and eating popcorn. This is another example of something that you may feel like is a difficult situation not to go to the movies and eat popcorn, right? Like, oh, I have to eat popcorn while I'm at the movies, or I have to have candy while I'm at the movies. I have solutions that enable you to still enjoy the popcorn or the candy with the movie if you want to, and still be very mindful. And then solutions that don't involve any food. They involve enjoying the experience of watching the movie without the food. And then there are those emotions that lead to mindless eating, right? So some specific and common ones include feeling bored at night, stress or frustration after a work meeting, also maybe worrying about a family member, or sadness or loneliness. Boredom is actually a common one amongst career women, especially at night. You wouldn't think so, right? But as far as boredom being a common emotion with career women, but here's why it is. So this particularly occurs at night or like any time off. So when you're so busy during the day and then you sit down at night with nothing else you have to do, it can feel boring, right? That's because of that contrast, because it's so different than how you felt all day. And since it feels so different, it feels uncomfortable oftentimes. And that's why boredom is a common cause of emotional eating, also because it's something to do. So that's a common reason why it is a common cause of mindless eating. A common cause of emotional eating as well. So we're feeling that boredom. We want to escape that boredom, and then eating is actual activity to do. So we eat to escape that uncomfortable feeling of boredom. All right, so make a mental note of any of those ones that you've caught yourself in the past doing as far as mindlessly eating. Now I'm going to get into the 4 steps to stop mindless eating. These are 4 very basic, simple steps that you can start doing right away to stop mindlessly eating without my help. Step number 1 is to write down when you tend to mindlessly eat. Even if you're not quite sure if it's mindless eating that you're doing, write it down. Now, the circumstances that I mentioned earlier are just some very common ones. You may find that you have some more circumstances where you're mindlessly eating. Write them down. Step number 2 is come up with a very simple 1-line plan for each of these situations and make sure the plan is very doable. We want to make it easy to follow through on. You can always build upon it later on. I'm all about making things very doable and very easy for my clients. That's what I do to ensure success, to ensure that the brain is not going to want to resist too much so that it's easy to follow through. When it comes to breaking habits and creating new habits, repetition is key. For repetition to occur, it needs to be as easy as possible to do. So let me give you an example of what I mean by making a simple one-line plan. Let's say that you often find yourself mindlessly eating lunch while you're working. Now, I want to make a note. Your brain may go to, well, I have so much to do and not enough time. In reality, you can still get all your work done and take 15 minutes to only eat your lunch. I promise you. You'll likely be more efficient in your work in the afternoon if you've actually taken that 15-minute break anyway. So you'll probably get more done. All right, so that one-line plan may look like, I will stop working for 15 minutes and eat my lunch away from my desk and phone, no matter how much work I have to do. And if your simple one-line plan doesn't feel super doable to you when you look at it or read it back to yourself, then just adjust it, make a change. So for this, for example, if it doesn't seem super doable, if you're like, I don't know if I can do that every day of the week starting out, right? Then just add in that you'll do it on, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for example. So the point is just make it something that you feel like you can easily succeed with. It's all going to be very personalized. What I like about this particular one-line plan is the part where I added in no matter how much work I have to do. That indicates that there's a level of commitment there, right? You're telling yourself that you're committed to doing what you say you'll do. And this is hugely important with follow through. Right now, your brain might not have a lot of evidence that you follow through on your intentions with food and eating. So the more evidence that we can give your brain, the more likely you will actually follow through more and more, right? And the more committed you can feel to your intention, the more likely you'll follow through on it. Step number 3 is to slow it down. For every time you eat, not just the times that you think you're mindlessly eating, but every time, get in the habit, get in the practice of just slowing it down a little bit. Take that bit of a pause, maybe before you eat or in between forkfuls, and either appreciate the flavors or appreciate what the food is doing for your body. Whether that's fuel from the calories or nutrients that your body needs to function well, these are just the bare essentials of mindful eating, right? It can be as simple as that. So mindful eating is just really the complete opposite of mindless eating. And you can make it real simple. You don't have to do like a full, jump into mindful eating with all the steps. So step number 4 is to celebrate. That celebration can just be thinking to yourself that you did really well as far as making a step in the right direction. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be progress, right? That will then make you feel good, and feeling good is a really nice, quick, and immediate reward to encourage that new behavior that you just did. Our human brains need reward as motivation. And now for the bonus. Here's a mindset shift to help you stop mindless eating. You may have an underlying thought such as, I don't have time, which is making you eat while doing another task, right? So instead, you can think a new deliberate thought such as, I can make time for my health and take 20 minutes to focus on eating. All right, my friend, that's what I have for you on 4 steps to stop mindless eating. If this has been a real struggle for you, don't worry, I can help you with one-on-one coaching. You're welcome to book a free 60-minute consultation with me. I'll find out more about your specific eating habits challenges and also your goals. If you're undecided on all of your goals right now, that's perfectly okay. Then I'll give you the solutions with my process that I utilize to help get you there, get you from A to B. And I present it as if you were my client. I say, okay, here's where the problems are. Here's the solutions to those problems. And then if you were my client, this is how I'd get you from A to B. So you can see how doable and possible it is for you, and sort of have that information for yourself. And then I will also share what results you can expect in your life from that process and from those solutions, right? So you can book a consultation with the link in the episode description. You'll be able to find it where it says like my website and other links. Thanks so much for listening. Take care and hit that subscribe button so that you get updated. You get the weekly YouTube videos as they come out, and then hit the notifications, turn it on if you want to be notified when the new video comes out. Become the person who loves her eating habits and her body so you can enjoy more of your life. I'll help. Start now by just setting up a time to talk with me by visiting katemjohnston.com/consult.